Hello everybody, this is Edward. Welcome back to the second video on the interface of Maya. So let's just keep going and learn about all these other UI elements that we see. So as I said, the status line right here is also holds a whole bunch of shortcuts. This is where we can switch between modules. These are the shortcuts to create new scene, open scene, save scene, some additional switches, how we can select objects or select certain components. These here, this is actually switches. You can see that you can switch it this way from object to component, or by clicking on these icons, or select hierarchy here. And again, just kind of we're trying to get a general idea of what this menu is about. We're not really trying to learn each particular tool here. We'll do that later. So on the left here we've got selection masks to be more specific in how we are selecting things. If we want to select faces on a polygonal mesh, we would be using this mask. If we want to select points, we would be using that mask, which is for using points, or to be more specific, polygon vertices, NURB CVs. And what I'm doing here is I'm right clicking to expand each selection mask. So basically these here are called selection masks. Here we also have a set of snap tools that allow us to snap to grid, to curve, to vertice, to view plane, or make an object live. And further down here we have some quick shortcuts to render our view. So here we are bringing up the render view, but again, most of these are you can find under the main menu. That's the main thing. So not necessarily you need to keep that status line up, but that's the status line. Now that we learned what the status line is, let's take a look at shelves. So shelves is another menu that holds a whole bunch of shortcuts. So here under general we've got a bunch of stuff like parenting, moving the camera. It's just basically some tools or utilities, or here curves. We can click here and create a curve. But basically the bottom line here is that what we see here is a set of tools that Autodesk decided that we would commonly use. But again, all of these tools you can find under the menus. So for example, if we need to create a circle, a NURB circle or a curve circle, we'll just go to create NURB primitives circle. So all of them are here. It's just instead of us going to the main menu and navigating through the menus here, we've got it here available, readily available for us. But again, essentially you don't need that. You don't really need all these menus. This is what Autodesk provides for us because it's saying this is what we need. Usually once you learn your tools, once you know what you're going to be working on, your project, you would set up your own custom shelves where you would only put the tools that are needed for you, and not just have a whole span of different tools that just take up space and look pretty. So let's look at the next thing, time slider. So the time slider is there, and basically it's a range of frames with a playback buttons here that allow us to play our animation, and we're gonna get to use it as we start talking about animation, which is again not something that you need when you are modeling necessarily. So the range slider is also a part of the animation tools here. It allows us to zoom in to a specific area or section of time, so we can work on just the keyframes that are just within that range, and we can expand our time, make it much larger, just simply typing in the values here. Where does it start? Where does it end? Does it take the whole space or just a section of time? It's got some other things like animation layers. If we have created animation layers, we would be choosing the layer that we want to work on, and also same goes for the characters. If we've got a bunch of characters here, we might want to create a character set for each character, which will allow us to keyframe things in a more uniformal way. Okay, and let's move on to command line. So the command line is a line where we can type in our commands using mel, and it's broken into two sections, where here we're typing a command, and here we're gonna get a response. So have our command been executed properly or not? So if you know a little bit of mel, you can start typing in your commands. Which again, something for a later time. Helpline, this is just a general feedback. It's sort of like pop-up helps that, you know, if we put our mouse over a certain tool, it gives us this little notification saying what this tool is all about, its name, and what does it do. So basically the same thing we would see here under the right here in that area. And if we're gonna get some kind of an error or a warning, it will show up there. If you're using a tool that needs certain approach, certain procedure, it might walk you through the steps as well. So it's probably a good idea to keep it up open and regularly look at what it's saying there. And we've got a few more. We've got a toolbox. So here we basically have a set of our very basic tools, and also down here we've got a way how we can switch between different display modes, or I should say window modes, view modes. So here is a single view, 4 views. If we use my window is not large enough, but if we look at if we expand this down a little bit, you'll see that there are more options here. So if we want to split our view into just 2 panels, we can do that and have the outliner by default. But again, you can always change and load, let's say, orthographic side view. So you can organize your view any way you want. And here we've got our selection. There are actually 3 selection tools. Just this is a very basic box selection, a lasso selection, and a pane selection. So this is something that we can use and to select a group of components. Here is our move tool, rotate, and scale. So this is as far as basic UI elements. We also, probably the last one, a reserved space here on the left is for something that we called attribute editor and channel box. These two editors give us a general understanding or general information about our selected objects. So if we don't have anything selected, nothing will show up here. But if we, let's say, do create some kind of an object here, it will start giving us an information about that object, its coordinates, and there is more information here that we can access about its shape. And the attribute editor pretty much does the same thing, but it's a more in-depth information, so more complete information. It basically gives us information about all the attributes. This is why it's called attribute editor. Channel box is a more simplified version, and it also shares the space with a layer editor. This is where we can create layers and assign objects to the layers. This is nothing like a Photoshop where there is a top to bottom hierarchy. This is simply to control, or for instance the display layers, they're simply to control if the objects are visible or not. So if we have a lot of objects in the scene and we just want to focus on modeling a single object, we can just hide the rest by using layers. But there is nothing in terms of one object is in front, one object is in is at the back, or top or bottom. There is no nothing in that sense. So let's say objects. So this is a general information about what we see when we're looking at the Maya interface, and again we're gonna get in more details and talk about all these features. So thank you, hope that was educational, and we'll keep